Hey everybody, decided to make a quick video today just about why I think there's a huge disconnect between the two different biological sexes, that is males and females. And I can attribute this to a variety of sources, especially like societal collusions or media or how it brainwashes us to a degree. And of course, all of those would be right. There are projections of real life that are displayed in Hollywood and traditional media that are not actually relevant to day-to-day life. And I think as we went throughout this whole postmodernist approach, a lot of media has actually began to reflect daily life, and thanks to social media and things like that, one of the only positives that it has given us is it gave us an accurate look towards people's actual lives and thoughts. So, for example, 30 or 40 years ago, you couldn't get this kind of shit out of me unless you went to a bar, and even then, you couldn't get it out of me because I wasn't live back then, right? But now you can pretty much hear out the thoughts of ordinary people who you wouldn't normally have access to because you're listening to this. I know you're listening to this with your AirPods in, and you have this playing in the background, and you're listening to it. You're half listening to it, and you're doing something else on the other screen while you're listening to it, right? That's how I consume content. That's how the vast majority of people consume content. It's more like a podcast. And that actually makes it way more convenient for people. The negative side of this is that we create some sort of like parasocial relationships where we substitute for having friends in real life with having thousands of friends in our phones. And then we think, the girl that's talking to us in the ASMR videos and is pretending to be our girlfriend is actually our girlfriend, or at least her brain thinks this. We think that dozens of guys that are talking on podcasts and just roasting each other are friends, right? And our brain is not evolved enough to interpret these signals psychologically, and then we see a girl literally getting boinked by another guy in a porn video, and a lot of guys fall for that. They think like, oh my god, this is like the greatest thing ever, while they're watching another girl get boinked. um, and that leads us into a very simple thing that I think comes down to the very base misinterpretation of how these relations between the two sexes work, and that's because guys are so prone to addiction, we're actually quite simple. A lot of women overcomplicate how difficult men are. And I've noticed this particularly as someone that grew up with a lot of female friends. And listen, if you go on Instagram, right, and you make a new account, and eventually you're going to get pop-ups in your post on your explore page, they're going to be about relationships, and you start liking them. And I'm someone with an anxious attachment style. So this is actually not a thing that a lot of people know about me because I'm very big into stuff like, you know, obviously self-destruction for partial self-improvement. I'm very prone to things like, fighting. I enjoy martial arts as a sport. I did boxing for the better half of a year. Then I quit. Went to the gym for like 2, 3 years, still have some muscle definition, quit. I have a lot of things that I sort of gave up on, like physical things that I very much liked and enjoyed doing, that I quit in the long run because I had other priorities. And I'm still young, so I'm looking forward to get back into stuff like that. But I enjoy physical activities. I'm not what you would consider like an archetypical nerd. I don't watch, anime anymore. I don't, obsess over weird, like niche stuff. I tend to think of myself as a pretty balanced person that can better get along with people who are very like sensory into combat sports and fighting, and usually when you try to be like a dominant figure like me, I usually try to dress nice when I'm going to out to the theater or the symphony orchestra, which I've been to recently with a friend. Um, and stuff like that. It's like I try to dress nice. I try to look good for opportunities and occasions like that. In these videos, I don't try to look that good. I try to look rather rudimentary. But for occasions like that, I do. And all these mixed archetypes mixed together into one person, which creates me. You wouldn't think of me as someone with an anxious attachment style, but I do have one. And psychologically, the vast majority of men have an avoidant attachment style, and the vast majority of women have anxious attachment style. This is why you see a lot of girls that are just like, he's not replying to me, and they're going like insane. Thinking back to the Instagram Explore page example, because if you know me and you know these videos, I know that I link back to things that I previously said. And if you don't know these videos, then you should subscribe right now immediately and turn notifications on immediately, and I will only continue talking once you do that. Have you done it? Good. No, I'm kidding. You haven't done it. Do it right now. You're not gonna do okay, whatever. Let's get on with the video. So because a lot of the stuff that you see on your Instagram Explore page is recommended to you, under the guise of this is similar to what you liked before, eventually you'll fall down this rabbit hole of like memes about relationships. 90% of these accounts are run by women, and a lot of them are just like me when he's not responding, and it's a picture of like an anime girl and she's like tearing her hair out. Um, if you're a girl and a guy's just not responding to you, there's only like a couple explanations that I would logically think of. Number one, he's autistic, and that's just his communication style. Like he's not prioritizing you because that's like autistic people function in a different way socially than most neurotypical people, and that's okay. That's just something that you have to keep in mind. There's completely nothing wrong with that. Second, aside from being autistic, he might be gay. Also, nothing wrong with that, but a lot of women don't consider that. And third one, and no women consider this, he might just not be interested in you. Like you might be chopped. Because when I think to like girls that in my past were hitting on me, and this is another thing that goes along with my attachment style. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about my exes or anything like that. I don't do that on this channel. Um, but something that also goes along with my attachment style is that I tend to think back to like past situations, and I realize that 90% of the girls that have like hit on me, a lot of guys, reflect upon these situations and are like, oh, when I realized she was hitting on me 10 years later, I'm like, no, I knew. Like I knew right there in the moment. Problem is 90% of these girls were like really ugly. Like I can think of five girls in particular who obviously liked me. They obviously liked me. They were so ugly. One of these girls, they had like short hair. Um, Another one, she looked okay, but then I told her I had a Korean friend, and she goes, South or North Korea? And I asked, did you seriously ask me that question? And she got all offended, and she said, you can't assume someone's culture. And that just hurt my brain so much that I tried to stay away from her. Um, Another girl wore Crocs, and it's just like, why would I be within 10 kilometers of anyone wearing open-toed shoes? Wait a second, my friend is calling me. Anyways, as I was saying, a lot of women just don't take it into consideration that guys might not literally be into them. Like a lot of girls, I see a lot of you out there, if any of you are watching, it's just like, for what either of those three reasons, the guy could not be responding. And if he isn't, then you can very easily move on to the next person. But the problem is, a lot of us people, we lose interest for people that, like us. And we tend to like people who don't like us because we have such cripplingly low self-esteem. And the only thing you can do is to detach yourself from outcomes, like, as I've said over and over and over again, and as I will continue to say, and actually hammer at that self-esteem. The only things that you can control are within your range of control. There's a video of me from a year ago or so, or even longer than that. I was talking about this same exact phenomenon. Dude, literally just like glue yourself to the things that you can control. Separate yourself from the things that you can control and the outcomes in that. And cramming yourself into shitty elevators with shitty people. And focus mainly locked down on the fact that you should be doing things because they align with the values that you hold as a person, rather than because they give you a specific outcome. And then look back onto yourself on a 6 month time frame. So 6 months from now, you look back at yourself and you'll be like, okay, did I do everything right by my own code of ethics and by my own values? Don't look at how things turned out, or if you're broke, or if you have more or less friends, or if you're in a relationship. Just be like, did I do things right? Did I do things the way that I planned them out to be? Did I achieve the goals that I wanted to set? Maybe don't do things the way that you planned them out to be, but at least achieve the things that you wanted to achieve from the very beginning. um, Live by your own code of ethics. Like live a life that you're proud of, and then you can look back on it and you can be like, hey, I did my best. I did my job. Obviously, I lack in these areas as well. I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm just putting out there what has helped me. So for the girls, just if a guy's not responding to you, just move on to the next guy. Like he doesn't like you. And here's the thing. If you're a girl and you're under 30 years old, which almost all of you are, or else you wouldn't be watching, this dumbass, just like, why even bother with men? Like, we're hairy and we're sweaty and we have balls. And for some reason, women like us. why is every girl just not a lesbian? Like we're so ugly. I may just be talking about myself, but just like men in general, how do you I mean, I get it if you're a gay guy because then you're just like, you know, I guess you're just like attracted to the novelty of it. But how do girls tolerate men? We're awful. That's all. That's all I wanted to end it on. Don't stress so much about getting in relationships if you're a woman, and if you're a guy, detach yourself from outcomes. Be totally chill and maybe respond to people a bit faster. That's what I try to do. Anyways, so all right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Bye bye.